Here's a story that is not getting too much play in U.S. media, even though it's monumentally important. Hundreds of thousands of protesters marched in Iraq to demand American troops leave the country. So I have a video here from the BBC. This is so you get a better sense of exactly what the protests look like. Watch. So there was also a rocket attack on the U.S. Embassy yesterday, and nobody was hurt, thankfully, and the rockets were pretty ineffectual, but there's a clear effort to get the U.S. out of Iraq completely. And obviously, this recent iteration of this goes back to the General Soleimani assassination. You had Donald Trump decided to assassinate with a drone General Soleimani, as well as the head of the Popular Mobilization Forces, the Iraqi forces, who were also fighting ISIS along with General Soleimani. And you have somebody who was in many ways a hero in the region, a hero to Iranians, and then also a hero to many Shia in Iraq who were, there was an existential threat to their existence. There was ISIS trying to genocide them. So you have these heroes who were killed in this attack. And, it was an insane violation of international law. It's obviously an act of war against Iran. It also violated the territorial sovereignty of Iraq because it happened while in Iraq. And what happened is the Iraqi parliament took a vote, and I believe it was unanimous or near unanimous. They said, yes, we want the United States out now. We've been there since 2003. So I'm going to go ahead and say, yes, we should get out, and we should have gotten out years ago. Same with Afghanistan. We've been there since 2001. There's so many people alive today who, have never known the U.S. in a state of peace or even relative peace. So this is, a stark reminder of what's going on in the world. And if you think that we're, some sort of benevolent, altruistic world police force, I got a bridge to sell you. Because really, we're the international thug. That's what we are. And unfortunately, a lot of these conflicts have nothing to do with protecting people. It really has to do with, in the case of Iraq, it did have a lot to do with the oil, had a lot to do with the military-industrial complex and the profits. In the case of Afghanistan, it has a lot to do with the trillions of dollars in mineral wealth that are in that country. And also, in our mind, this has a lot to do with Russia and the Cold War and having what we view as a geopolitical advantage in global politics, where we control more territory that are in vital regions of the world. And in the case of Iraq, it's kind of amazing that a sovereign country tells us, get out, and Trump, who campaigned on getting out, goes, no, now I'm going to stay indefinitely. We got at least 5,000 troops there. So now, 5,000 troops there, or more, probably more, that we don't even know about. And there are now rocket attacks on the embassy there. There was also, after the Soleimani killing, there was the bombing of a base where it was originally reported nobody was hurt, but apparently many Americans were there and they had concussions. So, get out! Get out! This isn't, it's not a thing. This isn't an option. We're already there illegally, and then now you have a sovereign country telling us to get out. And by the way, where the hell's the media on this? I'm serious, man. This is the BBC I just showed you, but most U.S. outlets aren't reporting anything at all. They're not reporting this. They're not reporting it. So it really goes to show you, in many ways, U.S. media is state media. Now, there are two wings of our state. So there's, as Chomsky says, we have two wings of the same party, the business party. That's Republicans and Democrats. But also, there are just two wings of our government. You have the right-leaning press and the left-leaning press, but it's within a very rigidly defined spectrum. It's within the confines of an Overton window that's shifted way right and pro-corporate. And that's why, yes, even though the press goes after Trump, goes hard in the paint after Trump, who are those people usually supporting? The Democratic Party and the deep state. The Democratic Party and our intelligence agencies. That's the furthest left you get on the spectrum here. So what's interesting is the Republicans, the elected Republicans, the Republican establishment agrees, let's stay in Iraq and Afghanistan forever. But also, the Democratic establishment and the deep state, the intelligence agencies agree, let's stay in Iraq and Afghanistan forever. So now you notice, hold on, the media is not really talking about this, and anybody who mentions it, it's just a passing mention. It's like they're trying to hide the fact from us that we're there illegally in these wars, and now tensions are even higher, and they are literally trying to kick us out. Hundreds of thousands of people marching to kick us out. Rockets hitting, the green zone. Rockets hitting the U.S. Embassy. And what do you hear? Something happening? Is there something happening about the thing with the... Now, see, what happened was with the Soleimani thing, we did the right thing, and now we're going to stay here, and you could shut up and piss off, and we're going to do whatever the hell we want, and we're not even going to pretend to have a mission. We're not even going to pretend to have an end goal. We're not even going to pretend to define what victory is anymore. And we'll add to the body counts while we're at it. Minimum 200,000 Iraqi civilians have been killed as a result of the U.S. being there. That's a minimum. We did torture to cover it up. Trillions and trillions of dollars wasted. And it's still going on, and it's barely talked about. You have to come here to get this conversation. It's barely talked about. In a world that made sense, this would be huge news every single week. Huge news that, oh my God, look at what's going on. Look, we're still wasting money over there. We're still wasting lives over there. Our brave men and women in uniform are risking their lives. Many of them have died, so on and so forth. All this would be huge news. They don't even talk about it. They don't even talk about it. So this is where we're at now. Just ignore the fact that a sovereign nation kicked us out, and they have the right to do that. Ignore the fact that the president used to say, let's get out, and now he wants to keep us there and increase our troop levels. Ignore the hundreds of thousands of people marching for self-determination, and by the way, they want to throw out the Iraqi government, which was too kind to the U.S. all along. They think they're all corrupt. And barely a peep here. So thank you to all the mainstream media outlets for being so terrible that people have to come to this shitty YouTube show to get anything even close to the truth.